we now know what causes hair loss, right? What do you guys think? What causes?
Well, what I've always read was just DHT receptors, right? So androgenic alopecia.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. What do you think?
Tell me that. That's it.
I want you guys to guess because it's an interesting
just
thing.
genetic factors for the most part, right?
There's part of that. That's part of it. So all those things play a role, but the primary reason that we lose hair is due to blood flow restriction to the scalp.
Oh, wow.
Really?
So we now know that even if you guys are all right, partially.
So I should hang upside down every night. That would help me.
I literally would, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. So yes, there is a predisposition to balding, which is what you said, androgenic alopecia. Yes, people have a genetic predisposition to thinning, but if we control for blood flow restriction, which peptides can do, red light can do, these new bioregulators are probably going to be able to do, then we can actually slow down, even if we're genetically predisposed to lose our hair completely, right? So these topical peptide formulations with very powerful angiogenic cofactors like GHKCU, copper peptide, which we'll talk about as we go deeper, can absolutely regrow hair to the scalp. It's actually pretty profound. Like I said, I'm kind of a geek into that research right now, but what's coming, and it's not long, is products that will regrow your hair completely.
Wow.
Okay.
That's huge.
But DHT inhibition, just so we can talk about that for 1 second.
Yeah, because right now people will take things like finasteride, dutasteride.
So this is, again, I'm going to blow minds here and I'm going to get, pushback from people. But DHT inhibition, the only thing that DHT inhibition actually does from a hair loss stoppage standpoint is it attaches to the receptors in the scalp, which prevents further deminiaturization. So as you guys know, and you guys have heard this from any person who's ever used DHT inhibitor, whether it was medical, which is finasteride, Proscar, or over-the-counter minoxidil, as soon as you stop, your hair falls out.
Yeah.
Because now it's not attached to the receptor. And it's toxin to the actual follicular receptors in the scalp, right? So we've done research and, again, written articles. And, again, this is scary stuff. But, like, guys who are on long-term DHT inhibitors, those are cell toxins. So you are shortening your lifespan using DHT inhibitors. Now, nobody wants to talk about this because, again, there's no real tests to really prove it other than, I'm sure you guys are familiar now with the biological age tests. So if you go to like a True Diagnostic or a GlycanAge, or I know there's a couple other ones out there now, and you get those tests done, you can actually look at your telomere factors, and we're going to get in deeper as we go down further into this with telomerase extension, which is what Thymolin and Epiptalon do. You know that you're shortening your lifespan by using a DHT inhibitor because it literally is shortening the telomerase factor.
Wow. They show that, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
But they do, but nobody's looking for it. So, like, if somebody says to me, Jay Campbell can't prove that, I can. I just got to go to those tests and I got to pull them out and I got to start looking at those transcription factors. But the smart guys that run those companies, the Ryan Smiths of the world, he can say, yes, you're right. But it hasn't really got out into the forefront. Now, the other thing is, as you guys know this, is there are plenty of people who use DHT inhibitors like finasteride and have no side effects versus other guys who take it for 1 week and are sexually dysfunctional forever, right? Really? Dude, post-finasteride syndrome, PFS, I've had 2 friends in my life who've killed themselves from PFS.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, it's horrible, but it's very well known, in the clinical literature that some people who take DHT inhibitors literally have permanent sexual dysfunction.
Is that because it just kills those receptors and that's it? Now the DHT can never...
Probably. Nobody really knows the answer. I mean, like all the research on it, nobody knows. It's just one of those drugs. And again, I think because it's a cell toxin, that a DHT inhibitor just does a lot of negative things downstream in the human body, right? Like they give DHT inhibitors to women too. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that. I just found this out in the last couple of years. But women take DHT inhibitors to stop hair loss. It's a horrible thing. If you're listening to this and you're using these things, don't cold turkey them, especially if you've been on, because I get this question a lot, if you've been on them for a long time, because again, all your hair will fall out. I can give you guys some options or whatever, but make sure you start using an angiogenic effector, topical solution. There's many now coming into the market. Ian Mitchell has one now.
Okay.
My company, which we sold last year, Sear Custom, we have a product called Oxano Grow. It's completely out of stock. But the one that I told you guys about that if we want to talk about, we can, it's coming, is going to be like the bee's knees when it comes to regrowth. But you want to make sure that you put on an angiogenic enhancer first before you kill a DHT inhibitor, so that it does prevent, it increases the health of the scalp and the follicle, so that when you stop the DHT inhibitor, when it demineralizes, it doesn't fall out.
Now, saw palmetto, that's an herb that has been somewhat shown to reduce DHT, but that's different, right? That has a different mechanism.
It's totally, but see, here's the thing is like, as I always say it like this to get a little spiritual, like we never want to block anything that God created, right? Like anything that's like a DHT inhibitor system, just like you guys know with the AIs, right? You never want to use an aromatase inhibitor, because when you block estrogen, you're creating downstream issues, right? So it's like, we now know that like with using therapeutic testosterone, you never ever inhibit estradiol production, which creates estrogen, because you want the estrogen to fall to your genetic level, right? So like when a guy goes on therapeutic testosterone, you never ever inhibit the estrogen, because the estrogen is what confers the protection to the biological systems. Bone mineral, brain health, cardiovascular health, that's what estrogen does, right? So it's like, I always tell people, like, if you're going to use therapeutic testosterone, you have to allow your estrogen to go wherever it's going to go. There's no such thing either, by the way, as high estrogen symptoms. People that think high estrogen symptoms, which are quantified as high estrogen symptoms, are actually inflammatory responses to too high a body fat and insulin resistance. So when you hear a doctor say, oh, I gave this guy an AI to inhibit his estrogen because he has high E2 symptoms, he doesn't have high estrogen symptoms. He has high symptoms due to inflammation.
Interesting. Well, I know low estrogen in men can feel like low testosterone.
Exactly. Well, that's what happens when you give a guy an AI when they're on therapeutic testosterone. You push their estrogen signal so low that you cause all sorts of horrible downstream effects, which destroys bone mineral density. I mean, I know I just rabbit hole by bringing that up, but it's very similar. DHT inhibition and aromatase inhibition are wrong because you allow those pathways to just be naturally expressed. So it's like, even in testosterone, in hair, you don't ever want to inhibit DHT, because DHT isn't really the ultimate causation or causal agent of hair loss.
I see. It's like putting a Band-Aid on it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right,
another big pharma play.